Good evening and welcome to Bent TV. In Staying Alive, Gordon, Leanne, Greg and David answer the question, do we need queer aged care, giving their opinions as to the different options that could be considered. Then, in an extended interview, Leanne of Switchboard introduces Carol Ann Allen, who presented at Midsummer this year, Making Peace with Parents, where she includes her explanation of coming out into a culture of family rules.
Hello, I'm David, and you're part of Staying Alive. It's a panel show, yep, we're a panel, and we're here to talk about our ageing population, which unfortunately for some of us, we're ageing by the minute. So the panel today is Greg at the end. Hello, Greg.
David, how are you?
Good. Leanne next to me, the gorgeous Leanne.
Thank you.
And what's your name? Gordon. That's right.
Can
Gordon.
you remember, can you?
Now, today's topic that we're going to start on is something that is so important for our ageing population, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Do we need queer aged care? Now, Leanne, I'm going to start with you because you're part of Switchboard and it's now part of your mandate, isn't it?
Yeah, we got some federal funding back in 2014 to run a program that we call Out and About, part of the Community Visitors program, where we visit older LGBTI people either at home or now we've extended into aged care facilities. And it's interesting because a lot of the older people don't feel comfortable being in a mainstream facility. Perhaps they're not being discriminated against, but they're fearful about being discriminated against. And that's not just from staff, from residents as well. So we know, we've heard talk about plans for LGBTI specific aged care homes.
It's been for a long time now, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, that's right.
And that's a problem. I think it's one of those things that people want to do it, but that investment in putting it together is pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess they need to, the developers or the agencies that are going to run it need to know that the numbers are there because it costs a lot of money, not just to build, but then to maintain and staff.
And you have to have the, you just can't open one. You have to be to a particular standards, don't
That's
you?
right. It's got some high standards for accreditation for those facilities. But I know there's one out west in Balan being planned and one also in Paran, which is interesting that it's quite inner city. So it'd be interested in what you guys think about it.
Great.
I think the concept of for-profit aged care has hairs on it. In this case, it's probably silver hairs on it. But it's why should we always just rely on for-profit centres? What's wrong with the model of having people collecting together and having a collaborative model for aged care where we contribute to it? Maybe when we pass away, it gets passed on or sold into the next person. But it's not a for-profit model. The profits go back into creating the aged care structure for people. So
you're talking about buying a block of apartments or units, and then everyone buys into it, and then they when they pass on, that's then left to somebody else.
Yes, and it's more than just, why should we all be a room full of geriatrics in our retirement? What is wrong with having a structured age strata around us? Why can't we have people in their 20s and in their 30s and 40s living with a group of people that are in their retired years, and you have a more rational approach to ageing, where you have people of all ages together rather than just people of geriatric ages.
And I don't want to just hang around with people at my age or older. I had to do it, sorry. Sorry, I had to do it. Because, like the units I live in, I'm definitely the oldest person. And it's good sort of being around younger people. And I stay out of their way, they stay out of mine. But it would be nice to be part of a community that is looking out for you as we get older. Gordon, what's your thoughts on it?
I suppose living in a situation like Greg has mentioned would be okay, but who do you get to staff it? I think the staff are the people that make those sort of places viable to live in, because you've got to have people that are, if they're straight people, they need to know that who you are and that you are an out person and you don't want to be discriminated against.
Or you could have out?
Yeah, but would you have all out staff? This is the thing. Would the staff be out there with you as well, or do you have to have straight staff looking after you, which they would then have to be trained to know or be very, very gay friendly?
That's right. That training's going on. I guess there's two different things. I think the model that Greg's talking about is great if someone's fit and healthy and mobile and active.
And can live in their own place.
That's right, and have maybe some services come in, but basically independent. Whereas I guess we're talking also about people who are less independent, who perhaps might be bedridden, may have had a stroke, may have dementia or something like that, where they actually need specialised care. And then that's what Gordon is saying, is that I know Gay and Lesbian Health Victoria and Transgender Victoria have got the funding through the Alliance, through federal government, to run the awareness training for aged care staff, and that's just been, I think that money was used up even before year's end, so that the call on that's been incredible.
Right.
But you know, you can never guarantee that one person that you deal with is going to be queer friendly.
My feeling is, and the way I would like it mixed. I would like to be with straight and gay and lesbian people. You know, like I don't want to be segregated. I really like the open plane, and most people these days are so queer friendly.
Yeah. I think I'm with you, David. I would prefer to live in a multicultural sort of atmosphere rather than just all gay or lesbian.
Yeah.
And because we live our lives amongst straight people, and you make very good straight friends. So why would you throw yourself out of that situation into a situation where it might not be just as friendly?
So if it's high needs care, I think you're looking at a sector where you have the staff, the carers, and gay and lesbian people occupy about 40%, some estimates say, of the people working in this space, in community space around aged care and disability and all that. So we're already going to get a strong mix of people that are same-sex attracted anyway, or have the awareness. With rainbow tick programs, we could make sure that everyone is up to speed around the need to respect the rights of people. But then on the lower end of the scale, if it's not high needs, I'm a bit of a fan of David's model of having straight people involved, and why can't we have a mixed environment? We don't like to be segregated around our what we like to do and who we like to be part of in society. So I'm with David on that one.
That's right.
Yeah, it is a hard one, because I know that there are so many people still in our community that do only hang out with mostly gay friends. Of course, in their working life, it's mixed, but when they're socialising, it is just gay, which I don't. And that's why I would like it to be a mixed bag, and let's see where we go.
And plus, you may not choose who goes in. I mean, they may not be friends, and just because you have sexuality or gender diversity in common doesn't mean you'll get on with them and have the right like-minded interests.
It's the same with everything, isn't it? There are people you meet you get on with instantly, and there are people you get on with that you think, well, I don't really want to see them again.
Well, there's four of us that can share. We'll fit in the same place, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. This is a topic that there's so much we could talk about, but we've got to leave it for now. So thanks for watching Staying Alive today. We've got to thank Greg, we've got Leanne and Gordon. See you soon.
Hello and welcome. I'm Leanne Renfree from Switchboard, Victoria. Switchboard's been going for 25 years, and we've been providing telephone counselling, referral information to Victoria's LGBTI communities for that time. We've got peer-based volunteer counsellors, and we receive a number of different calls, and quite often our calls involve family. Over those 25 years, family's been an issue. So for this year, at Midsummer, we sponsored an event called Making Peace with Your Parents. And my guest today, Carol Ann Allen, who's a psychotherapist in private practice, delivered that talk. Welcome, Carol Ann.
Thank you very much.
So, Making Peace with Your Parents. We had a chat when we were talking about the event. Why do you think it's an important topic for our communities?
Well, you know, it's an important topic because we don't talk about it. And yet our community is actually a community of migrants, of coming out migrants, and in some respects of coming out orphans. You know, we're a community filled with people who have had to leave home in order to find a more welcoming home where they felt safe and felt secure. And so family estrangement is not unfamiliar in our community. And in many ways, family estrangement isn't seen by people as the problem, it's often seen as the relief. And yet in my own work, I hear privately about the pain and about the sadness and the grief of these disconnections. And if these disconnections stay long-standing, they can actually have an impact on current relationships that people are having.
In what way could that be?
Well, because people are oftentimes reactive to things that originate in unresolved conflict with their families. And so someone might be experiencing any sign of conflict as a potential sign that, oh, this relationship is over, someone is leaving me, things like that. But also importantly, we know that family disconnection can be a big contributing factor to depression, to anxiety, substance use, and also to suicidality. So it's really a very important subject to be aware of. I'm not advocating that everybody go back and hug their families, but I am advocating that we are aware of the impact of this on us and that we get the help that we need.
So if people feel that they don't have the contact or little contact with their family, why would they bother perhaps trying to have a reconnection? Well,
it may be fine for them not to bother. But you know, what I hear a lot of, and I think what we see with our friends, is that we're often bothered by family, whether they're there or not. In fact, we actually have two sets of parents. We have our original parents, we have where we came from, and we also have the parents we carry in our heads. And those can be very loud people, very loud voices in our lives. And you only need to see how much anxiety and reactivity there is when Christmas comes along, and the thought of actually, you know, having to go back to family. But also, in a more quiet way, there's the reactivity to Christmas, which is about actually the recognition and being in touch with the loss of family or the absence of family and the loneliness of that. And even though we may fill our lives with other people and new people and important other people, there's still actually, we carry that loss with us.
Oh, I know. At Switchboard, around the holiday season is definitely a time where our call rates are increased, and it is around that dealing with what potentially could be a problem situation, or a couple where the partners split up for the day to go to the various families, because even if they're out to the families, it's not always a comfortable situation to be in.
That's right. And, you know, disconnection and distance does not mean that you don't have a relationship, or it means that it's the end of it. In fact, estrangement can be as powerful a relationship as if you were closely bonded with your family, because it has that amount of an impact on your psychic life, on your emotional life.
And often when it's around that time of the year, people saying, what are you going to do for Christmas? And if you don't see your family, it's difficult to say to somebody else who might have a perceived happier family life to say, actually, I don't have contact.
That's right. And I think one of the other reasons why it's important to raise this issue is it can be hard to talk about that. There's such a kind of culture sometimes of acceptance and assumption that, oh, family is gone, thank goodness for that, in a way. And so if you're actually feeling differently about that, or if you're feeling in yourself new feelings about it as you grow and you experience new things in life as you get older, then I think it's important to actually, for us to open up the space to make it possible to reconsider the positions that we have, to reconsider that distance. And as I said, we have two sets of parents, so it's not just the distance from our actual parents, whether they're alive or not. It's actually transforming how we hold our experience of our families in our own minds.
Yeah, yeah. At the talk that you gave, you talked about family rules. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, families are cultures, and all cultures have rules of belonging, and certainly families have their rules of belonging. And coming out in many ways breaks those rules.
Sure does.
And in families where there is a brittleness, where coming out can lead to estrangement, often those families have quite strongly fixed brittle rules to keep everyone together. So some of those rules might be around difference, around how, whether it's possible to have different opinions, how vulnerability is treated, whether it's possible to express emotions, to be open, to be real about problems. You know, if you've ever been at the dinner table in someone else's family, right? I don't know about you, but sometimes it can feel like you're on another planet.
Oh, for sure, for
right?
sure.
Well, what you're feeling there is the culture of that family and getting a sense of those rules and in a way a sense of, oh, this is very different from what I'm used to. And one other important piece of it is that as human beings, we're social beings, and so we are highly motivated to stay connected to the people that we depend on. And so we actually do absorb the ways in which we learn we have to be in order to stay connected.
That's right. So they're very complex issues, and I know Melbourne Psychotherapy is going to be running some workshops around these sorts of issues. So perhaps if people look at your website, they can find out more about that. And if someone wants to feel like they want to call Switchboard, our phones are available 3 p.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Free call 1800 184 527 or web chat through our QLife network that we're partners in, qlife.org.au. So thank you, Carol Ann, for joining us today. You've been watching Bent TV. Welcome to Bent TV. I'm Leanne Renfree from Switchboard, Victoria. Switchboard is Victoria's peer-based telephone counselling information referral service. We've been going for 25 years, and we were really proud at this midsummer to run an event called Making Peace with Your Parents. And I welcome Carol Ann Allen, who presented that talk.
Hello.
Carol Ann, you're a psychotherapist in private practice, had worked very closely with the LGBTIQ community, and when we're discussing the event for Midsummer, you suggested making peace with your parents was a good topic. What led you to that?
Well, we are a migrant community. We're filled with people who have left their families in order to find a better, safer place to live. So I have been doing this work for over 20 years, so as time goes on, as you work with people and in your own life, you age, our experience of being separate from our parents changes over time. And although we may need to get out early on, not only because possibly our families are unsafe for us to stay in, but also because there's sort of a pull factor to sort of discover ourselves in another place. And if we don't have the blessings of our family to do that, there's a disconnection that we have to live with and takes over. And oftentimes, say that disconnection really is activated in holiday times or in times when important events are happening in our lives and they're missing people.
Yeah. You did say in your talk that gender identity and sexuality may be the triggers for family estrangement, but they may not actually have been the true cause. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
That's right. Coming out in a family has its own challenges, its own difficulties, but really we're coming out into a culture of our family, and that culture in our family has rules, and it has rules of belonging, and coming out may be something that actually we are trained not to do across a range of things. We're trained in our families, if it's a family that is reactive and likely to be estranging in a way, that's a clue that actually the rules are very tight in that family.
So you could break any rule, and coming out might just be one of them.
It might be one of them, but I think coming out breaks a lot of them, because coming out is about being different. It's actually saying to people, I need you to be different. I need you to hear me, to respond to me, to respect me in a new way. And it may also be saying to a family, you know, in order to keep me in this family in order to make space, we might need to change some of the rules around here. So it's a very actually provocative thing to do in a family that has a lot of rules. But those rules are actually there in a way to keep people safe. Those rules are there because there are vulnerabilities. There are capacities that the family has that they don't know how to express or how to manage other than through rules.
So if the rules are there, but they're confining for individuals within that family, can those rules be changed or, I don't know, made more rubbery or something?
Well, yes, I think so. But it actually takes courage.
Yeah.
And it takes reflective distance to be able to do that. And, you know, those rules are in us. It's important for us as children to stay connected to our families. We depend on them, and so we have to adjust to how things are, you know, how to stay connected to these important people. And so we follow their guidance. They don't necessarily tell us the rules. A lot of these rules are unspoken.
Well, you
but
don't
we
know
watch,
about them till you break them.
That's right. We watch and we learn. So it's important to be able to step aside, and we can often do that when we are away from our families and think, what is actually going on here? But it may take some help to be able to do that, because we are stuck in our own patterns with our families, and we need to be able to recognize those patterns in ourselves. So one of the ways that you can really understand more about the culture of your family and how you contribute to it is to listen to the stories that you tell yourself or you tell others about your family.
About your experiences in that family.
About your experiences in that family. And even though those stories are importantly about us, you know, we are the center of our stories, they are actually stories about other people. And if you want to change the rules in your family, I think you need to be aware of what's going on for the other people too, because actually they're living by the rules as well. And in the talk that I gave, I really privileged having empathy for your parents. And that may seem like too much to ask for in a way. But empathy is really an opportunity to look at everyone in the picture, yourselves included, as the vulnerable human beings that we are, and to look at those stories as moments in time and moments in place that perhaps, say, with coming out, nobody knew what to do, including ourselves. We didn't have practice in doing it. Our parents didn't have practice in responding to it, and everybody responded according to either what the rules were or the reactivity that rules are supposed to protect the family from.
So maybe they're doing their best at the time, it just sometimes it doesn't result in the best outcome.
Right. So how I think we change the rules in our family is actually to recognize that we are not in that time and that place now. We're actually who we are now. We've grown, we've developed, we've had more experiences, we have more capacities. And might it be possible for us to apply those capacities, those learnings, those understandings to our family rather than stay in the story that we're stuck in, which actually keeps us stuck in a time and a place that is in the past.
Yeah. So I guess there is an opportunity to change things. That same pattern doesn't have to repeat.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So I believe Melbourne Psychotherapy is going to be running some workshops around these sorts of issues. So if anybody's interested in exploring things a little more, perhaps they can look at Melbourne Psychotherapy Services website. And also if you wanted to call Switchboard, our phones are there, our phone counsellors there 3 p.m. to midnight, 7 days a week, 1800 184 527. And web counselling is now available through the QLife network. We're partners in the QLife project across Australia through qlife.org.au. So thank you, Carol Ann, for joining us today, and thank you. You've been watching Bent TV.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching. My name is Gavin Henderson. Please visit our website, YouTube channel, Facebook to keep in contact and support Bent TV.